Hello and welcome to season 2, episode 2.
Yep.
Episode 2 of I See Bad Movies. I am joined by the ever fantastical Emma.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Good.
Excellent stuff. So we are continuing our journey of watching killer inanimate objects.
We certainly are. And what a journey it is.
What a journey it is. And it was a journey last time because it was a tyre that took us to places.
It literally was a journey.
Places unknown.
Yes.
Well, you'll be glad to know that we're moving into far more realistic realms rather than a tyre animating itself and killing people.
Well, let's not be too hasty there because we haven't seen this film, so we don't know if it's more realistic or not.
But I don't know. I somehow feel that it must be far more realistic than a tyre. And this movie this week is called Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. This is a bit of a classic movie. What, from the 80s? I remember seeing this when I was young.
I'm not sure because on the back it says 1978, but then it also says 2005, so I don't know.
Is it 1978?
I'm sure it says 1978 at the bottom there.
Oh God, I'm trying desperately to find it, but I can't. But then also my eyes are pretty poor. Yeah, 1978. Oh my God,
Classic.
I think this is the first movie we're watching where I wasn't actually born yet.
I wasn't born either.
Yay! Oh, that makes me feel young now. So, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, Emma. So you've never seen it?
I've never seen it. I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
I've heard of it. I've never seen it. I'm very, very excited to watch it. And I'd also like to give a shout out to the person that gave this DVD to me to watch, to my good friend Ed. Ed, if you're listening, thank you very much. But do you want to know a little bit about the movie?
I do, but before you do that, can I just say...
Go on.
I think the cover is fantastic on
the
this.
Artwork?
Yeah, the artwork's great, isn't it?
Yeah, it is actually. I'm hoping we'll post something on social media with the artwork.
Yeah,
for
we
the cover.
definitely should for this one.
But it's it's a really, really good... There's even a shark in the bottom left-hand corner running away.
But they're not worried about... Oh, the shark's actually scared of the
shark's scared of
tomatoes.
the tomato. Yeah. I mean, they're no longer on the top of the food chain in the sea. There's clearly a tomato that will do it. So are you ready for the synopsis, Emma?
Born ready.
Born ready. All right. The nation is in chaos. A vicious plague of man-eating killer tomatoes is sweeping across the US. A special task force is assigned to investigate these ferocious fruits. Oh, I like that. Ferocious fruits. But with the likes of Sorry, I need to remember, in America it's Lieutenant Finletter, who never goes anywhere without his parachute, and Greg Colburn.
You can't take the risk of going anywhere without your parachute.
The underwater expert who never takes his scuba gear off.
What? Well, he literally goes everywhere. That's who that guy was who did the marathon in the diver's suit. That was him.
That was him.
Everyone thought he was in fancy dress to raise money, but it's just that's what he always wears.
He just doesn't take it off. So yeah, their task force is not looking too promising. Just who or what will save the day? Well, there we go.
Who will save the day? Certainly not the shark, because he's just as scared as everyone else.
Possibly a vegans. Killer tomatoes. Killer vegans. There you go. Maybe they'll win the day. Right, well, I'm really, really excited to watch this movie. But before we watch it, we need to figure out if we're going to focus on the bad or the good.
We do.
I can't imagine there's many bad in this.
I think we're going to struggle if we get bad.
I think we will. I think we will. Hopefully, at least. All right, so I'm going to flip the coin. So before I reveal, would you like to take a guess, Emma?
I really hope it's the good.
Yeah?
We're going to struggle with bad.
Hey!
It's the good.
Yes, it's the good. Excellent stuff. I had difficulty reading it because it was upside down. I was thinking, soy? Oh, yes. There we go. All right, and as last week, it was Emma's turn to pick the categories we'll be focusing on. It's my turn to choose the categories today. Oh, that card's sticking right out at me. We're looking for
actor.
The actor. Oh, we're looking for best death.
Oh, that's a good one.
Excellent. Let's go to the middle of the pack here. We're gonna have a location.
Okay.
Now, if there's a parachute and there's scuba gear, hopefully we'll have
we'll get
an aeroplane location.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
And perhaps a sea-based location. Right,
I mean, by the looks of the cover, these tomatoes are pretty big.
They do.
So I'm wondering how they grow that big in the first place.
Our fourth option is looking at our supporting cast.
Okay.
And what else we got? Let's not go with that one. Let's go with that one. Costume.
Oh, we've got the scuba diver. And we've got Parachute Man.
And we've got Parachute Man, yep.
Should have some interesting costumes as well.
So, alright, so we're going to go watch Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. We're going to focus on this episode, the best of the deaths, the best actor, the best location, best supporting cast, best costume.
Can I just say that I have got some tomatoes in the fridge, so if we don't come back... You guys know what happened, okay?
You know what happened.
Send the vegans.
No, don't. You're all right. We won't take the mickey out of vegans too much. Yes, we will.
No, we won't.
Right. Are we ready?
I think so. I'm scared.
Okay, let's go watch this. Well, hello and welcome back, Emma, after watching Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
I don't think I'm okay.
No, I'm pretty stunned after watching it.
It was a hard watch, wasn't it?
It really was. I wasn't expecting it to be quite so overwhelming.
Yeah, I think we're both looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Cover artwork amazing, the first song amazing.
Yes.
I did have to ask you in the beginning, is this meant to be a comedy? Because you never know. I mean, the films we've watched, you never can tell.
True. True.
And you said yes, and it started off and I thought, yes, they are deliberately making this a comedy.
Mm-hmm.
But it just went downhill. It was so difficult.
Oh, yeah.
Not just to keep up with the storyline, but there was so much going on constantly. It was overstimulating. It was like there'd be sound effects on top of music, loads of action, so many people in this film. There wasn't a main actor, was there? It was just kind of the whole film was supporting cast, really.
Yep.
It was just, every scene was just packed full of too much going on.
Yes.
And it was just almost distracting because you couldn't concentrate on any one thing, could you?
No, you couldn't. And just when you thought you got your head around kind of what was happening in some of the scenes, they just then go to another one.
Yeah.
And then it'd all start all over again.
There's no sort of story you can follow. There's no explanation for anything.
Yeah.
So you might just jump to another scene and then, okay, where are we now? What are we doing now? And there's inconsistency with the tomatoes themselves.
Yes.
It's just, it's a hard watch. This isn't the sort of movie you can put on and just think, this is going to be a nice, easy watch on a Saturday night.
Definitely.
Just sit back and relax.
Definitely.
No.
Yeah, I don't think you could even sit and watch it with your friends again because it would just, like, the noise would just take over any conversation.
It's a lot. It's disappointing, I think, because I think we were both looking forward to it, and then we were both like, I'm not enjoying this.
It started strong.
Yes,
like
it did.
You said, like the intro music.
Yeah,
we were like,
first song was really funny,
and it gave us such high hopes, you know.
Yeah.
And some of the opening scene, a couple of the opening bits, just hit you with good laughs really quickly.
Yep.
And
then it was just chaos after that.
It just became chaos. I think it's one of the first films as well because it was so chaotic as well. I mean, we didn't really even talk to each other much through it.
No.
It was because it was just...
I think we were desperately trying to concentrate on it, but you just couldn't. It was just too much.
No. You really couldn't. So, I mean, I normally like to sit and go through the synopsis as well.
Yeah.
And say, okay, this happened, and then we'll kind of talk about some of it as we go, but...
I'm not sure how we can do that with this one.
No, I know, because it was so much over the place.
I'm not sure... There is a logical storyline, is there?
I mean,
it's a loose one, but it's not.
yeah. I don't think I could go in like chronological order of the film and say, this happens, this happens, this happens. But if I had to sort of boil it down really, really quickly, we start with tomatoes killing people. Then we have the government get involved.
Sorry, can I just say, the beginning, we start with, I'd say beef tomatoes. They're not
normal sort of sized tomatoes.
But they're normal sized tomatoes. So in the beginning, they're just these small tomatoes that are killing people. Yep. That changes throughout the film, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It flits between.
Progressively bigger.
Yep.
And then smaller.
Some are like absolutely giant, bigger than a person. Some are big for a tomato, but not, about the size of your head. They're just like different sized tomatoes. And
not a single one with teeth.
No teeth, as they do allude to teeth on the cover artwork. They didn't have faces or anything like that. They didn't. No. But we did say, this is one point that we both picked up on was, so we watched Rubber last week.
Yeah.
And that, with Rubber, they made a killer tyre. It had no face. It had no, there was no features to it. It was just a tyre, but it had a personality. Somehow, the way they filmed it had a personality. And it also, when it killed somebody, it vibrated and then their heads exploded. These tomatoes just were there and then someone was dead. There was no death scenes, were there?
They kind of maybe rub up against them a little bit, and that was it.
Well, there's like scenes where the tomatoes are on their bodies, and then they're just dead, and it's like, well, how though? I want to see how they actually kill them. So they had no personality. That's what I'm trying to say. There's no character.
That's it.
It just and the big ones just looked like a prop. They didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, one of them looked like a beach ball. The one that the lady was in the woods with, and she was batting it about, that looked like a beach ball. And then the really huge ones, well, I don't know if they were fiberglass or paper mache or something. They were just obviously.
And the thing is as well, the only thing that they had going for them was this kind of little sort of
they spoke as well, didn't they? That's all they did. That was it. They just you just had this like weird sound come over every now and then of just like and I was just like, someone's had to stand in a sound booth and do that little weird noise. So that was meant to be them talking, although later on they did actually. There were subtitles, wasn't there?
Yeah, they had it must have been like their own tomato language where they spoke, and and the thing is as well, at that point there's a guy pretending to be a tomato. More about that later.
Yes, definitely more about him.
The subtitles are on the bottom of the screen, but he's understanding what they're saying.
Yeah, he understands it. It's just like you wouldn't understand it because you're actually a human, but again, nothing really made sense, so it's not surprising that there was a man.
But he was a master of disguise. Maybe he integrated so well. That was it,
Yeah.
And I mean, so there are tomatoes and they're killing people. That's it.
So opening scene is a woman in her kitchen. She's washing up, and then weirdly she looks down and there's a tomato in like the plug, like the.
Like, has it come up through the food disposal?
I don't know, but it was just the sink, wasn't it? It was just where she was washing up, and then all of a sudden
a lot of the time in American sinks, you got
they have the garbage disposal.
Garbage thing, yeah.
But that I thought it was in the main sink. She saw it, not in the little bit by the little side. I thought it just.
Are they always separated? I don't know.
Oh, I don't know actually.
I don't know.
I assumed they were, but maybe not. We don't have them over here, do we? So
is your food disposal little thing down your plug?
Do we have them over here at all? Does anyone have them over here? Because I've never seen one.
I've never seen one.
I think it's a very American thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Let us know.
So we're completely clueless about this because we're.
Sink. But they always scare me because they're like.
Oh yeah.
Like fingers down it.
Oh no, they sound like a bad idea to me.
Very bad idea. It's like
especially if you've got kids in the house.
No chance.
No
chance. So.
But so it starts off with her, doesn't it? And then she's just this tomato comes out of the sink.
Yeah.
And then you just see her back against the wall.
The tomato coming towards her. Yeah. And then it fades.
You don't see any of the actual attack. Mm-hmm. And then later on, she's just laying on the floor with tomato juice on her. Yeah. And are they like FBI or are they just cops? Or it doesn't really explain who they are, does it?
These are cops. These are detectives.
Okay. So these detectives are just like, oh, she's just laying here covered in blood. And it's so obviously not blood as well, isn't it? And then he's like, no. And then does he taste it?
He tastes
like,
it.
As if you would taste it. And then he tastes it and says, that's not blood. And it's tomato juice, obviously. And then you cut to another couple having their breakfast.
And so we had deaths down, and that was actually my favourite death.
What, the couple?
Was the couple.
Yeah, mine too. The couple having breakfast.
Nice.
So because you don't see any other deaths,
you don't see any other deaths.
So you can't really say another death. Yeah, we can't really pick out another death
They
because
happen.
they're all...
They happen all over the place.
People are dying all over the place, but you don't see how these tomatoes actually kill them. Like with Rubber, like I say, I don't want to keep going back to that, but you knew how he killed them. He had this weird vibration, didn't he? And then their heads exploded. But you saw it. But with this one, it was like, there's a tomato, there's a person, you've just got to assume it killed it, and there's no explanation of how.
I know.
It's just
it's happened.
But the second one, the couple that are sitting having breakfast, so the woman is just reading the paper, isn't she? And she's just... That's right. The whole scene, she just sits and reads the paper. Her husband takes a sip of his tomato juice that he's got.
That's right.
And then...
But he says something like, this doesn't taste like the normal tomato juice. Or...
Oh, yes, he does.
And, yeah.
But why would it not taste like the normal tomato juice?
Exactly. Why would it not?
So, but this is what I don't understand. So they've obviously blended up a tomato to get the tomato juice.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still got the power to kill him by choking him.
Yeah.
So he literally kills over and chokes to death. And the wife just carries on. She does not even flinch. She doesn't look round. She doesn't flinch. She just sits there and reads her paper.
I think that's why it was my favourite, because he does the whole kind of choking and down
really
he goes.
Over the top.
And there's no reaction from the wife. It's perfect.
Nothing at all.
It's perfect.
But that is the only death we actually see, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah, so therefore, by default, it has to be our favourite one.
It has to be the best one. But luckily, there is the funny reaction from the wife. And that's still early enough in the film for me to be thinking, this could be quite funny.
But this is where the inconsistency comes in, because then the next scene is another couple watching the TV. They're watching the news. And the man makes a comment like something about the tomatoes getting really big.
That's right, yeah.
I can't remember the exact line, but he mentions them getting big. So the tomato in the first scene was just a normal sized tomato.
Yeah.
Then this couple talk about them being big. Then when we go and see more tomatoes, they're small again. And so it kind of, throughout the film, they seem to get big. Mm-hmm. We don't know how. David did suggest that through eating people. But then I said... They don't always eat people.
Don't always eat them. The people are just dead, and tomatoes are on them.
I don't know what the reason is that they're killing people. What's the motive? Because they're not the first woman. They don't eat her. It's just one tomato on its own. Yep. Kills the woman, and then that's it.
Have they just had enough of being put on pizzas and in sauces and
and squashed to make ketchup?
Yeah,
I don't know, but they're angry.
They
woke up and chose violence. That's for sure.
They are very cross, and then the government gets involved.
Yes.
And then the government get involved. And obviously there's a little bit of a parody on how governments can be pretty useless at things, etc., etc. The president's involved, and the president's just signing paper over and over and over again.
Constant pens being handed to him as well. There's like 20 pens being handed to him.
And literally, all he's doing is signing a piece of paper for the president's signature and then crumpling it up and throwing it away. So he's ineffective. There's a government committee that we keep cutting back and forwards, and they're pretty useless. But the government gets involved, and it's not the FBI, it's not the CIA, it's the FIA, the Federal Intelligence Agency.
Yeah.
I don't think that's an actual thing.
No.
You got the FBI, you got the CIA. Why do you need the FIA?
I don't think this film's based on a true story. It's just a hunch, but I don't think it is.
True. Well, you never know.
So they put together this weird team, don't they, of experts.
The most unlikely people to get involved, because they want to keep a lid on it, even though most of America's being attacked by these tomatoes. Who makes up the team?
This is not a secret. So the team are a diver who is wearing sort of one of those life vests you get on aeroplanes. It's like that, isn't it? And then flippers, a snorkel.
Yeah.
Not a diving helmet, a snorkel.
A full-on snorkel.
And he's got an oxygen tank on his back.
Yeah.
And then you've got the Russian gymnast.
A Russian gymnast.
Again,
and she's purely there just to make a joke about Russians taking steroids in
Yeah, it's just.
Yeah.
And then later on, you get the guy with the parachute that comes in. He lands on the car, doesn't he? Later on, and he wears his full jumpsuit and parachute and helmet, hat, whatever they call it. What do they call it? It's not a helmet, is it?
Well, it's good enough.
like the goggles and the. It's on constantly, even when he's in bed. And they all stay in costume throughout. But it's just, and they drive around in this car, don't they? That's got unmarked. FIA
unmarked carpool.
Yeah, it's like silly little things like that. But they're kind of going around. I don't know what the mission is because I don't know how they don't have a plan to stop these tomatoes, do they?
No,
they're just driving around.
Yeah.
So there doesn't seem to be a plan in place.
Nope, not the slightest.
And then after that, I can't really tell you anymore because it got so confusing.
Yeah. It did. We've at one point. So we've established that team. We then established that there's a presidential the press secretary who the White House press secretary who's sent out to kind of keep the public not too like crazy about it.
Yeah, I guess
he gets like an advertising executive involved.
Oh, the advertising executive is mad as a box of frogs.
Honestly, I mean.
Oh, and this is the other surprise. So this was kind of a musical.
Yeah.
Because the advertising guy breaks into song, and then we have a couple of more songs later on. But it's not a musical in the sense that everything's a song.
Yeah.
But you have about 3 songs throughout that the actors sing.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a bit of a surprise as well. I wasn't expecting that.
But they're not as good as the songs in the stuff.
No.
They're not as good as the songs in the stuff at all.
They're not. And the first song, sort of, I guess it's the theme song when the film starts.
Yeah, so I suppose we should say this is kind of our wild card. Because like actors and supporting actors, there wasn't anyone that really stood out from that. So
no.
For a wild card, we decided to go with one of the wild cards. We've actually pulled out 2 wild cards this week. One of them is music, and definitely the intro song was, like you say...
That was quite funny, because it was quite a funny tune, but it was also, if you listen to the lyrics, it was quite funny. But that was good. But then the songs that they actually sang throughout the movie weren't good at all, were they? They were just annoying.
No, they really were. And that first song, I was like, this is quite funny.
Yeah.
And again, it set you up. Set you up to think this could be a really funny film.
Yeah. And then disappointment.
Yeah, real disappointment. We need to like get better bad movies. I understand the contradiction in terms there.
But also, I guess it's of any movie, you don't know until you watch it, do you? And you can read reviews, but everyone's got a different opinion. But yeah, I'll just keep coming back to it. It was just difficult to watch.
Yeah, it really was. It really was. What then else kind of happened? So we find out through the movie, I mean, lots of different sort of weird things happen. The main kind of task force leader, Mason Dixon, who again, even though he's like the main character, he's not really even a main character.
Yeah, nobody really is, are they?
No one is.
Really...
He's the most named.
You can't pick out a lead in this film.
No, you couldn't. You couldn't. He keeps having someone try to kill him.
Yes.
And there's several attempts on his life throughout the film, and they all fail. But it turns out, right, that it's the press secretary.
Yeah.
Who is trying to use the tomatoes to take power.
I don't know how.
No idea how. But I think that's how they end up defeating the tomatoes, because he's like, the tomatoes in my garden are fine.
Yeah.
But but in his record collection is this song Puberty Boy.
Puberty of Love.
Puberty Love? Puberty Love? Was it Puberty Love?
Puberty Love, yeah.
Yeah. Was this song Puberty Love? And I don't even know how, but Mason Dixon spots this song and then realises that's what they need to defeat the tomatoes. They go to a big stadium, play this song.
That's not explained at all.
Not at all. Turns the tomatoes back into small, normal tomatoes and leads the townspeople that are left to go and trample all the tomatoes and destroy them.
Which makes no sense, because even when the tomatoes are small, they were still killing people.
Yeah.
So how, by turning them small, do you stop them being killer tomatoes? Because the small ones are killing as well. So that didn't make any sense to me.
None of it made any
previous scenes, the small tomatoes have been all over people, killing them.
Yeah.
So the fact they could now just stomp on them didn't make any sense either.
And, you know, if you look at if you go on IMDb and look at Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, okay, there is a great big long synopsis that you can read that's full of spoilers. Will tell you everything about the film, okay, but pretty much it boils down to that. There are tomatoes killing people, the government gets involved, there's a task force set up that's ineffectual, and because the press secretary tries to kill Mason Dixon, he ultimately helps them find a song that defeats the tomatoes, and that's it. But that was about an hour and a half.
Also, a spy called
madness.
Lois.
Oh yeah, Lois.
Is she working for Mason, or is she working for?
She was.
I couldn't work out who she was working for.
She wasn't a spy. She was a newspaper. She was a journalist.
Was a spy.
No, they called her a spy because the task force thought that she was spying on them. But the thing is, her name was Lois, and at one point when she bumped past Mason, there's another fella who walks past called Clark, and he goes, "Oh, hi, Lois," and he goes, "Oh, hi, Clark," and then in the distance we hear up and away, and the guy flies away, and it's like, I mean, is it Lois and Clark? Oh, okay.
But there's a scene.
Some jokes do fall really flat.
Yeah, but there's also a scene where she's on the phone to somebody, and so is Parachute Man.
Yeah.
Is she on the phone to Mason, or is the parachute guy on it? Because that was really confusing as well.
Because
they were doing it at the same time, weren't they?
They're
both on the phone at the same time. So you cut to the guys they're on the phone to, but they mixed up the conversations completely. So you don't know who's saying what to who.
Yeah, and so that could have been a really good scene if it was filmed and written better.
Yeah,
it could have been so much funnier, because you know what she was saying to her editor and what her editor was saying to her, and what the parachute guy was saying to Mason, and Mason was saying to the parachute guy, were all contradicting each other.
Yeah.
But it was
badly done.
Just bad. It was that was badly done.
Yeah.
You know,
you've got the idea. The concept was there, but it wasn't well enough done for it to make sense.
Yes.
So then I got really confused of who did she actually call, because I don't know. Because there's a bit at the end, isn't there, where Lois and Mason meet and they realise who each other are and they fall in love. But I don't know if she called him or called somebody else.
They'd already met earlier in the film.
Yeah, I know.
And they didn't recognise each other. But then she only referred to him as Mr. Dixon, I think. And then at the end of the film, he says Mason, and she goes, Mason? And it's like she recognises him as Mason Dixon, whereas she might have only known him as Dixon. I don't know. Honestly couldn't say. I mean, there are several more Killer Tomato movies.
Really?
Yeah, so there's Return of the Killer Tomatoes, Killer Tomatoes Strike Back, Killer Tomatoes Eat France.
I don't see where else they can go with that, though, because didn't they kill the tomatoes at the end?
Well, I mean... who knows?
They do kill the tomatoes at the end.
They do indeed.
Then the last scene is a vegetable patch with carrots in it, and one of the carrots rises above the ground. And what does it say?
Hey guys, they're gone. It's like, we can come out now. The killer tomatoes have gone.
Yeah, but then that makes me think the carrots are going to start killing.
I don't know. Maybe they're the cuddly carrots. You know. The adoration of the cuddly carrots. It's not as catchy a movie, is it? No. Yeah. I'm just really disappointed.
Yeah, me too. I was massively disappointed and still quite confused at what I've just watched. And and it was just chaotic. It gives you a headache. It's just too much sound, too much going on. Every scene is just like... It's almost like a hyperactive child.
Yeah, I mean,
wrote this movie.
You said
throw everything in there that we can.
You said when we kind of looked at each other, like, there was a very particular scene as well.
Yes.
A car chase.
Yes.
Oh my god!
And you had the noise of the car and
Yeah.
the guy in the parachute falling over and
But
stuff.
it wasn't even
on
just
top
the noise
of
of a car.
music, on top of
Yeah, it wasn't even just the noise of a car though. It was like
No.
the noise of a car breaking down. So it was that constant.
yeah. Then you had noises like when so basically the guy in the parachute gets his parachute caught in the car door and he's running alongside the car. He bumps into something at some point and falls over, and you get all of the sound effects of all of it going on top of some really annoying music, and it's just too much. It's just.
Yeah. And at that point, you turned and said, "This is actually overstimulating."
Yeah, 100%.
I would have happily turned it off.
Yeah.
Happily turned it off. I don't care what happens to the
It's
matter
like
at the end.
this movie is like punishment for your eyes and ears.
Yeah. If you ever
If you want to punish your kids,
make them watch
make them watch this.
If you ever want to punish yourself, just watch this. If you feel like you've done bad that day,
Yeah.
just watch this.
In fact, they should play it to prisoners, shouldn't they?
Oh no, that must go against like human rights to
surely
do that.
not.
It must. So there was. I want to talk a little bit about locations now.
Yes.
Because again, this is something that happened really early in the film for me. That I thought was hilarious. So it's when the government first gets involved, and they have all these generals and these scientists, and they all get together and they go into this meeting room.
Yes.
And this meeting room is tiny.
Oh, yeah.
It is
deliberately tiny. Like, literally, the
so
chairs are butting up against the walls, aren't
Yep.
they? Like, you can't get round the chairs to get on them.
Yep. And honestly, I could not say there was nothing funnier in this whole film than just watching all of these men scramble into this room piece by piece and just try and take seats and just sit there
And the first guy walks in and sits in the front
He
seat.
sits
doesn't he?
really right in the front seat.
Right to the close to the door. So everyone's got to like scramble over him to get to the back. One guy just goes straight over the table, doesn't he?
Yep.
That's quite funny because it's obviously deliberately done to be funny. But that was when we had high hopes in the very beginning, wasn't it?
Yeah,
They went
it
into that,
was.
and there's a couple of scenes in that meeting room where they're just all crammed, and they seem to get more and more people in there each time. But yeah, and then I guess that was best. Yeah, I guess that was the best location in terms of comedy.
And do you know the thing is, right? That was a scene worthy of something like Airplane.
Yeah.
And this film was not a patch on Airplane.
No, not at all.
Or anything like that. And it so desperately wanted to be. I don't know which came first. This was 1978.
I think it was 78. Yeah.
Airplane was
Definitely
earlier?
70s. Judging by the
70s.
clothes.
It must have been earlier. So
I'm not sure.
no, I don't know.
Probably look it up.
Yeah, I probably could look it up. Yeah, we've got the internet. I won't though. I'm too lazy. But I'm sure Airplane was earlier. But this was a scene worthy of Airplane. I liked it that much.
It gave us high hopes.
It did. And then there were a couple of little bits through the film that made me chuckle a lot as well. So you know how like when in a movie they show you a skyline of a city and it's an establishing shot of where they are and it's obvious where they are and they still tell you,
Yes.
you see the Statue of Liberty and they put New York.
Yeah.
Well, this one made me chuckle and I liked it a lot because it played on that.
Yeah.
So you've got in the background, you've got Alcatraz.
Yes.
And you've got a tram coming up like a hilly road.
Yeah.
And at the bottom of the screen it says New York.
Yeah, it does that a couple of times, doesn't it?
Well, that did make me chuckle. And then a little bit later you see the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yes.
And then you've got New York again.
Question mark. Yeah.
So I mean, for all like the stupidity and all the madness, there were still some funny little bits in there,
Yes.
as well. But the trouble is, because it was just like so chaotic, it started to get difficult to pick them out.
Very difficult, yeah. And by the way, Airplane was 1980, apparently.
What was it? Oh wow!
Release date 29th of August 1980. After this.
Well. So I take it all back.
Also known as Kentucky Fried Airplane.
What is it?
Is this right?
Is
That's what it says on IM.
Is that another name for the release of it in another country? Because that's mad.
talking about Airplane, are we?
Well, could we not?
Yeah, I'd rather talk about that. Yeah.
Surely, we can talk about Airplane.
I think we can. I mean,
Yes, we can, and don't call me Shirley.
do what we like.
Does anyone mind if we just talk about Airplane for a bit?
I don't think they would. It's better than talking about this film.
Yeah, wasn't it? Yeah, I think it was. Right, what have we not talked about? We talked about the good stuff with locations. We talked about the best by default death.
Yeah, well, there was only really one death shown. That was disappointing as well, because on these, especially with this category,
Yeah.
I want to see the deaths. You know, we've seen them in Rubber.
Yeah.
We know we've got another couple of films coming up that we are pretty sure we're going to see some deaths in.
100%.
I don't think you can have like a horror. I guess this was more a comedy, really.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can have a film about anyone getting killed without seeing some deaths.
Yeah.
It's a bit disappointing. So, that was literally the only death we saw. So that was default.
I know. So I think I'm going to talk about our next wild card.
Yes.
Which is so we decided to pull in lines instead of actor or supporting cast. And don't get me wrong, this film had a smattering of good lines in there. You know, they were all kind of thrown into the film. There are some that you just wouldn't be able to see in any movie nowadays as well, which I think we'll go into on the Bad Side podcast, to be perfectly honest, on the flip side. We'll go into it on the
flip side.
Thank you very much. So I think we'll do those there. But my favourite line comes from like just a random moment in it. So there's a news anchor's interviewing a woman, all right?
Yes.
I don't know what I'm saying to you. You watched it, and I was laughing out loud while they were doing it. So they're interviewing this woman, right? And like this poor woman, as the news anchor is saying this line, is breaking down in front of him. It's like, so your husband is missing. Do you think he's dead? Do you think he'll turn up in a ditch, missing his legs? Will you remarry? You'll have to. You'll no spring chicken. It was just so absurd, but so very much like.
And this one was just like kind of screaming and just doesn't know where to look, and like she's literally just going through this traumatic experience, and he's just bombarding her with questions.
She's really going through the ringer with it, and that's it. You know, just told and done with it. Yeah, so that really did make me chuckle. I mean, there are a couple of lines thrown in, but before I talk about any of those, have you got another favourite yourself?
I quite liked it. So there's, again, I don't know what order this is in. It just kind of cut to different scenes. There's a scene where there's like a dirt bike track.
Oh, yeah,
and there's some guys on some bikes and there's some women watching.
One of the many tomato attacks that we don't see.
Yes, so it's just, there's no explanation for it. It's just cuts to another scene and a guy comes off his bike and then you don't see him. Again, you don't see it. Yep. But you just hear him say, "Oh, look, a funky little tomato." Just the way he said it made me laugh. And then he's obviously dead, and then she's just the girlfriend's just screaming, isn't she? Just watching and screaming. You just see her scream, but again, you don't see what the tomato does. You just hear him say that funny little line, and then she's just really screaming.
It's almost like that's the voice that gave you the inspiration for On the Flip Side. The funky little tomato.
I've never seen it before, so I must be psychic.
That's it. You must be.
So yeah, other than that, I don't particularly anything else.
Yeah, I know. It is mad, isn't it? Now, the next line that I really liked, I can't really talk about without talking about a certain character that I want to talk about in terms of the best costume. Okay. But we did talk about the best costume. Was the guy? Well, we kind of mentioned it. Is the Master of Disguise?
We haven't talked about what different costumes he had.
We didn't talk about the different costumes he had. But there's one point. Oh no, I don't want to talk about the line because it will give away. The best costume for you that I know you have. Okay. So let's we're going to put a pin. In best line.
Yeah. Okay.
And we're going to jump on the best costume.
Okay.
Emma.
So when they're putting the team together, that's the one we didn't mention that when we said about the team.
Right.
They put the team together, and one of the team members is the Master of Disguise. And when you first see him, he's got literally the nose attached to the glasses. You know,
the Groucho Marx nose. Yeah.
The old, this typical disguise that a child would use. So he's got that on, but then every time you see him, he's got another ridiculous costume on. I don't know. He's got, at one point, I wrote down Hitler, because he was definitely Hitler at one point.
He was definitely Hitler at one point,
and then after that, then he turns up in, I think we mentioned this earlier, they send him in to infiltrate the tomatoes. Right. They're giant by this point.
Yes.
So you just see him like creep into the woods with like this tomato costume on, which just looks ridiculous. And then he's sat around a campfire with the other tomatoes, isn't he, in this costume?
Around a campfire?
And it's like, the tomatoes haven't got any eyes, so do you need to disguise yourself as a tomato? But yeah, so that was quite funny when he was a tomato.
It was good. I mean, that was, I think my favourite costume was the introduction to him and having the glasses with the nose. And it was like, and it was like, and here's Sam Smith, he's a master of disguise. Oh, right, okay. This is, and again, we were still at that sort of point in the film where we had high hopes.
Yeah, that it could actually be quite funny.
Yeah, that's it. So, I'm talking about the Master of Disguise.
Yes.
Okay, so just going to come a little bit back onto the best line. I have got a couple of the best lines, but this one was an absolute brilliant one. So the Master of Disguise is sitting around the campfire with these giant tomatoes.
Yes.
It's already come back to in one scene before, and they're talking about like eating things. Eating. They do actually talk about eating arms and people. And
yes, they are. They are eating people, but they're not eating people. Maybe it's just the big ones that eat the people, and the small ones don't.
It is. Maybe the small ones just knock you out.
Maybe they don't get big by eating people. I don't know. None of it made sense.
None of it makes any sense. So, obviously, he's been given food by the tomatoes, so he's sitting there. And it cuts to him in this scene. He's like, hey, can someone please pass the ketchup? And then the tomatoes start grumbling. And he's like, whoops.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's like the obvious joke, isn't it? You know, I like that for it. That was very good. I did make me chuckle, that one. So, yeah. I mean, what else have we got? This is like, we're struggling to find good things. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know. I think we were just so confused, weren't we?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
there's a couple of things I wrote down which aren't in our categories.
Oh, okay. We've got time.
There was a scene with the Russian gymnast. Again, no explanation. She was just in the woods eating cereal, which was called
steroids. Yeah.
And she's just there eating her cereal. Again, it's just bizarre. And then this tomato comes bounding along, and it's like a beach ball size. It looks like a beach ball as well. I think they just got a red beach ball for this one.
That's right.
It doesn't actually look like a tomato. But she's kind of... So all of these tomatoes throughout the film have just appeared and then just killed somebody. This one, she's kind of like batting it about, and it's just bouncing all over the place, isn't it? She bats it over a cliff, then it comes back, and it's just like to and fro for ages.
But was it supposed to be the same tomato, or was it just lots of them?
I don't know. Again, no idea. Yeah, I assumed it was the same one. It might be several.
Yeah.
So she just kind of bats it about a bit, and again, it's the inconsistency with the size, inconsistency with like killing people. It's just, and that scene was absolutely pointless as well.
Yeah,
she's just in the woods eating cereal, which is bizarre in itself, and then this beach ball comes along, which is meant to be a tomato, and she's just bats it about for a bit, and then it cuts to something else.
Yep.
It's just stuff like that. It's just...
Yeah, and then you have to like ask yourself, and I think I said this earlier, she was literally there just for a joke about Russian athletes taking steroids.
Yeah, I guess so.
That was it. And, you know, fair enough. It's still... The mad thing is, it's still even topical to this day. But, you know, you could have just got rid of that.
Yeah.
And we don't even know that she's dead until later in the film when the parachuter guy turns up and says,
it does kill her, doesn't it? Sorry, I thought it didn't kill her, but it does
kill her, but you don't see that it kills her.
That. No,
you don't see it and you don't know it. And until later when the parachuter turns up and goes, there's increased tomato activity in your sector, better keep an eye out, and she's lying on the ground dead.
Yeah.
And then he just walks off.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's that Milo.
I know.
He just wants to be on the podcast.
I know,
And he
but
can't. Because he doesn't have,
he can't talk.
he can't talk. and also, I think he's quite racist and homophobic.
You think?
Well, I mean, listening to that bark, he really needs to watch himself.
No, he's just making assumptions.
Yeah, I know. I'm good at that.
Another inconsistency with the tomatoes
Oh, go on.
that I want to mention is when they're in like the stadium towards the end, and they play that song, don't they? They play the Puberty Love song, and it shrinks them down. When the tomatoes come towards them, they're literally like bouncing. No. When they got the stairs,
Yeah.
there's a scene where they got the stairs. A man runs up the stairs, and the tomatoes follow him upstairs. They literally like bound up those stairs. They're bouncing, like
That's
jumping
right.
up the stairs,
Yep,
really
yep.
quick. They're really quick, and they bounce up the stairs with no problem at all. And then later on, when they're in the stadium and they're playing the song, before the tomatoes realise they're playing the song, they're coming towards everyone, but they're coming towards everyone in like slow motion. It's like they can barely move. Is that because they're playing the song, or is it just an inconsistency with their movement? And like throughout the film, it's
that's a
kind
good
of
point.
like they kind of get pushed into view, don't they? Almost like someone is just literally pushing them from behind the camera. They're not particularly quick. And then there's other scenes where they're like literally jumping all over the place, and I don't know, it just seemed inconsistent with the movement, didn't it?
Actually, that's a really good point. It was
The bigger ones are
extremely
slower.
inconsistent.
I know.
Yeah, maybe they are.
Smaller ones are bouncier.
Maybe they are. So I thought what I'd do is I'd have a little look at some of the trivia about that.
Okay.
And because I was thinking puberty love. What is that? What is that
Yeah.
all about? There's absolutely nothing about it, right? But I didn't know this. I just spotted this. Early in the film, there's a helicopter crash.
Yes.
And that looked really real.
And a tomato had hit it.
Yeah, a tomato had hit it out the sky.
Yeah.
That helicopter had actually crashed.
What, that was real footage?
Yeah,
of
that
a
was
helicopter?
real footage.
What?
The helicopter crash in the early scenes was unintentional. The tail rotor blades accidentally hit the ground, causing the helicopter to spin out of control. Debris and the top rotor blades narrowly missed the police officers in the scene and the crew off camera. The pirate
It could have been a pirate flying it,
The
This
pilot
film,
received
nothing surprises
minor
me.
injuries after being pulled from the wreck. Jack
Wow.
Riley and George Wilson quickly ad-libbed the rest of the scene as the wreck was set on fire. The crash of the $60,000 rented helicopter used up more of the budget than all other aspects of the film
That explains the
combined.
costume then.
So that's probably what did it for the film.
Yeah.
Is
They've
that
blown the
crash?
budget on that crash.
And then I also spotted here, and this isn't just a trivia channel, everyone, and this might not mean anything to you, Emma, but it means a hell of a lot to me. But the song Puberty Love was performed by a man called Matt Cameron, who I know you won't know, but he would later to go on to be the drummer for Soundgarden and Pearl Jam.
Okay.
Two of my favourite bands.
Yeah.
I'm mind blown. Absolutely mind blown. So yeah, there you go. Oh, and also most of the cast had never appeared in a movie before, and several never acted again.
Shock horror.
Shock horror.
I just was thinking, I feel like this episode has been as chaotic as that film, so I think we've probably done quite well to match the energy of the film.
Oh yeah.
I feel like we've jumped about all over the place this time, but I think that's because of the film,
Yeah.
not because of us, because normally we're quite methodical, but I feel like this time we've kind of jumped about between categories and all other stuff, because that's how the film was.
The film literally sapped all. Like, I had a New Year's resolution
Yeah.
to be more focused on the podcast,
Okay.
and I failed.
Well, I think we can blame the movie for that and not
Yeah.
ourselves.
I will blame Attack of the Killer Tomatoes for that
Yes.
entirely, and
Me too.
it was definitely that. So, I mean, I don't have much more to say about this film.
No,
I was even like driven to mention trivia based off of
We're clutching
IMDb.
at straws.
We really
Towards
were.
the end there.
But well, okay. Let's shall we start scoring it?
Yeah.
All right. So, out of 5, Emma, how many stars would you give Attack of the Killer Tomatoes?
I'm going to give it 1.
Oh.
Then I thought, should I give it half?
Oh.
But I think I will stick at 1 just because I liked the the song at the beginning, and I liked the cover artwork, and I liked the first couple of scenes, like with the meeting room and stuff like that. Like, it had potential. I think I'm going to give it 1 point for that, but the rest of it, I couldn't sit through it again.
Just detracted and took away.
I just couldn't. I don't. If you said to me, watch that again or I'll kill you, I'd probably choose death. Death would be a less
Kill a
painful
tomato
option.
or death? Death, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I don't think I can go much higher than a 1.5. No. There's a bit of me that was tempted with a 2, but I like to think about bad movies and when I score them based upon rewatchability, and if you could happily sit down and watch this with your friends again, so you could have a laugh with it. And I couldn't.
Or if we were sitting here saying, yeah, go and watch it, it's like other films we said, go and watch it just even for this. Go and watch it. There's something there to be it's worth a watch. Mm-hmm. This one isn't worth a watch.
No, I don't think it is. I mean, I feel bad for my pal Ed that lent me the DVD because
he didn't write it, to be fair.
No, he didn't write it, but he would go on about how funny some bits were in it and etc. etc.
Oh, okay.
And don't get me wrong, some of the bits are very funny, but yeah, it fell flat with me.
Yeah.
So I think a 1.5. I think I might give it 1.5 just based upon the strength of some of the jokes around the size of that meeting room.
Yeah.
The little bit of the music at the beginning and the hope that it gave us.
Yeah.
And the fact that Matt Cameron from Soundgarden and Pearl Jam was kicking about doing the music for it, which I am still completely mind blown by. So yeah, for that fact, it gets a 1.5. But otherwise, just really, deflated, I think, is the word after watching it. Yeah. I mean, people listening to us might be like, "Are you mad? Attack of the Killer Tomatoes is like
I'd love to hear other people's opinions on it, actually.
Absolutely. I mean, I won't tell you you're wrong. I'll think it. No.
And if you do think it's good, tell us why you think it's good.
And if we've missed the point.
Think.
No, but maybe
it's hard to tell.
Maybe
really hard to tell with this movie.
So it really is very much of a passata on Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
Do you want to cut that bit out?
No, I'm not going to cut that out. I'm quite proud of that. I literally just thought of it and I said it.
You look really proud of yourself.
I am really proud of myself for it. It's a passata. Come on. Oh dear. So yeah, well, thank you very much, everyone, for listening to us again.
If you made it all the way through.
Yeah, I mean, any final thoughts on the film, Emma, or are you done with it?
If you value your time, give it a miss. When you've got very little free time as an adult, I would say spend it more wisely than watching this movie.
Yep, I have to agree.
Yeah,
I have to agree. As a fully grown adult, and time is precious. There's better ways to spend your time, basically. Yeah, there is. Go outside, enjoy the sunshine.
See your friends.
It's sunny where you are. See your friends. Yeah, write a novel.
Watch paint dry. Yeah. Cut the grass. I don't know, just anything.
Take up crochet.
Yeah, anything other than this.
Watch a video on how to better yourself.
Yeah,
anything. Well, yeah, thank you very much, everyone. Come and join us on the Patreon if you want to hear all the bad bits of it.
Yes.
There is stuff to talk about, but I don't know how long it's going to be before we devolve into our usual diatribes as old people against the world changing.
Yeah, we'll try our best.
All the social media links, please follow us and tell us why we're wrong about this movie if you want. Okay.
Yes, please do.
Bye.
Bye.